Hey, this is Gabe Ets-Hokin with MotorcycleDaily.com. I ride motorcycles, so you don't have to. And I'm here with Neale Bailey and Brian Case, and we are checking out the 2012 Motus MSTR. It's a very special motorcycle. It's basically a V4 sports tourer. It's described as an American sport bike that you can tour on. And Neale is a motorcycle journalist. You might have seen him on SpeedTV.
Learning to read.
He also is a freelancer for City Bike magazine. And he's actually gets to ride this thing. So I want to talk to him about his riding impressions.
Right, ask
So,
away, Gabe. Ask away. What do you want to know?
So Neale, what can you tell me about this
We'll
this
stay
bike?
there on the bike, and I'm going to come up and talk to you speaking.
All right. So tell me about the bike.
All right. Okay. Motus MST. It's a 1600cc, 1650 V4 pushrod engine. Lots of torque. 120 pounds of torque. 160 horsepower. And it's all sorted out. 530 pounds with bag. So you're talking about 500 pounds the way I'm riding it. 58-inch wheelbase. As you can see on this one, you've got some pretty trick Öhlins forks, radial rubber brakes, great brakes, hose wheels. So what you've got is you've got real low unsprung weight, so very nice smooth turn in, you know, the short wheelbase, brake control that makes it more like a sport bike than a sport tourer. But it's aligned to a very comfortable riding position. Your feet are low. Those pegs, you know, they're not sport bike high.
Yeah, I noticed they're very kind of far forward. It's almost more like a standard riding position.
But the seat, which is 31.5 inches, but very narrow, so it allows you to flat foot it on the floor. But when you're in the saddle, if you look at the back portion of the saddle, I found myself kind of like pushing back a little bit on my legs to put my butt up into the rear of the seat. And then you can still use your body weight to lean to the inside of the bike. And the bars, even though they're tall, they're not kind of like ape hanger tall, where you feel like you're levering back and forward. You still feel like you're on top of them, and you can just push them from side to side for transitions. So the bike really, really transitions well from side to side. I mean, it's just, I don't know, it's a super, super sweet bike. You do have to remember this one's a prototype. I mean, there are bugs in this bike, that's why they're riding it and working them out. I rode the original version, or renditioning, when it first rolled out to Pratt & Miller in March, and this is a huge leap forward in terms of gear shifting, the way the bike is fueling, the way the suspension's set up now. You know, obviously straight out the gate, nothing's going to be perfect, so it's really exciting for me to see the evolvement of the bike from March to here. And with Brian and Lee having ridden those things from Alabama to here, not all the way, I mean, they've trailered parts of it, and then we're going to ride them most of the way back. You know that they're going to go back now with a lot of information about what these bikes do, don't do, what they need to do. And the next generation will just be even better.
So let's talk about the motor, because that's really what this bike is all about, right?
Well, what you should do for the motor is you should talk to Brian about that, because he's the guy that designed it. He
Okay.
didn't go and get an off-the-shelf engine and say, right, let's...
Well, sure. I mean, we're going to talk about, like, you know, the design choices and the technical stuff. But
Right.
but you've ridden the bike. Like, what's that motor like? I mean, here you got a V4 with a huge amount of torque, but it's in a sport bike chassis. It's a very kind of unique engine. I can't think of any other motorcycle has a motor like this. So what's it like?
You will relate to this. You're a motorcycle tester, and you've been on a lot of different bikes. And you know when you get on something like a big V-twin, I don't know, maybe a Tuono, or some of the Buells when they were getting really sorted out at the end, you got that deceptive feeling of a lot of speed, but nothing very frenetic happening between your legs. Just you know. And this is the same with this. I mean, everything's happening at very low RPM, 3,000, 4,000. It's just a smooth. You know, slower revving. It's not a screaming four-cylinder by any means. So you're actually carrying a lot of speed, but you're not feeling very rushed or hectic, because the motor just feels so relaxed.
And what kind of throttle response do you get? Like, what happens when you really open up that throttle in
I'm being really, really
second or
tentative
third
with
gear?
the throttle. I'm riding a prototype. It's pretty priceless. I can't afford for anything to go wrong, so I don't know that I'm even really completely unclenched off the bars. I'm still a bit puckered up, just trying to relax. But it's very smooth and very powerful.
All right, fast?
Fast, yeah, oh yeah. You're deceptively fast.
All right.
I mean, like I say, I'm not whacking that throttle up. I mean, I'm feeding it very, very gently. I mean, I'm just gathering speed. Brian told me I could rev it up to about 7,000 RPM, but I haven't revved it that high.
Okay, and do you know where it redlines?
I think he told me 7,800, but I dropped it down to about 4th gear on the highway, and I started to ramp that thing up sort of between about 4 and 6, and probably saw it up to about 95, close to 100 miles an hour. And there's a bit of hurry, and there's a hurry up in there between 4 and 6, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it must be like nothing else you've ever ridden.
It's just unique, and the sound is what's interesting. You know the feeling you get on a big Moto Guzzi when you shut the throttle and the flywheel seems to spin up for a little bit longer before it rolls off, and you kind of get that up over the hill feeling, and then it rolls away from you. And it's different to riding a sport bike or an inline where you shut the throttle and the motor immediately shuts down on you and starts engine braking. And this has got a little if you're a Guzzi guy, you'll relate to that feeling on this. It just sounds so beautiful on the overrun. And you've heard it go by.
I have. It's pretty intense listening to this motor. It's definitely a unique sound and a pretty cool bike. So what they've been telling us today is that they're looking. This is going to be a low volume motorcycle, maybe 300, 500 a year. Pricing they won't talk about, but I guess the consensus is about $30,000 would be probably around a good guess.
I have no idea.
Of course, there's no official word.
No, I don't even want to guess. So.
And we wouldn't want to guess. But and that they are going to be producing it in 2012.
I think that if you were to sum it up in a couple of sentences, a motorcyclist's motorcycle, especially for people that want something made in America, built by Americans, big gutsy V4 motor, lots of power, lots of torque, but no compromise in suspension, comfort, and handling.
Yeah, I'm eager to ride one, and you're a lucky man that you get to spend so much time on it.
Stop kicking me.
Only if you give me the keys.
Ow.
All right, should we hear it? Can we start it up?